So I've got a tough act to follow after seeing generative AI. I know that, so I'm going to do my best to pique some attention. So my name's Travis. I'm a solution specialist with Enterprise Cloud and Security. So today we're going to be focusing on security and modern workplace security. So first thing about security is we all saw Mr. App's beautiful hybrid jacket. He left it laying around in the Brisbane office and I got to take a photo with it. So secure everything, including your jackets, is my initial message. Still not comfortable with it? So just keeping a theme, why did the Terminator go back in time? To terminate Sarah Connor and preventing the resistance from uprising? That is definitely not it. To protect John Connor, allowing the resistance to defeat Skynet? That is still not it. It was completely to make better security choices and implement Microsoft security. So a little bit about ECS. So we're going to focus on security today, but as you can see, it's an underpinning element of everything that we do is security. Security based on for modern work, infrastructure and networking. Modern work covering things as Microsoft 365 and Citrix. We do a lot in that space. Infrastructure, which Mr. Apps has already spoken to you about, and networking as well, connecting and extending our internal networks. So in the manufacturing world, we've all got IoT or PLC networks. We might have specialized production networks. So we work in securing a lot of that in the security element, but we also can do provisioning of those networks as well. So the four areas breaking down, security being the first one, we are going to look into this today, is Microsoft 365 Defender Suite and Sentinel SIEM. So security information and event management. We're going to really touch on Sentinel. Has anyone heard of Sentinel or using Sentinel in the room? Yeah, perfect. We'll touch on that very briefly. But other areas we work in is mobility, managed and BYO devices. I think COVID really proved it. We all of a sudden, well, I'm from Western Australia, so I can't claim lockdown, but everyone went into lockdown really quickly. We didn't have laptops, we didn't have all sorts of things, and we had to use what we had available to us, BYO devices. So what we've learned with the Microsoft product is a lot of BYO devices that allow us to secure the environment. And warehousing devices, scanners, tablets, all those PLC device readers and that. If they have iOS, Android or Windows, we can actually secure and manage them through the Microsoft platform, which is really cool. App delivery, we do a lot around the legacy application delivery. So say you're using an old application that's no longer supported in the environment, we can use such things as Citrix to do that, or we can use other platforms for virtualization and hosting. The other thing, which is a big one, is secure contract access. There's a lot of people in the room using contractors on the daily. Yep. Contractors are one of those things where we call it human risk management, HRM. So contractors and internal employees are often a security threat. So we do a lot around the app delivery for secure access for contractors. And like I've already touched, networking and voice, firewalls, secure Wi-Fi, and we do a lot of the Teams voice support. There is an element in JR's presentation later where he talks about AI sentiment in phone calls. We are able to work with such teams and provide the phone calling platforms for that, but doesn't really demonstrate the phone calling, just shows you a bit of the AI sentiment. So why cybersecurity is important for manufacturing? So these statistics were up to date as of December 2022, so it would be interesting to see December 23 where these numbers are. But malicious attacks were up 41% from 2021. And then 45% of data breaches resulted from cybersecurity incidents that were in that environment. A further 80% of incidents from ransomware, stolen credentials, or phishing attacks. And then 42% of human error breaches caused by personal identifiable information being sent to the wrong recipient. And I keep saying at all of these is that how many Steve Smiths are in the world and how many Steve Smiths do we have in our organizations? Sending the wrong email to the wrong person is one of those breaches. The other one is contact information remains the most common type of PI involved in breaches. So bank account details, social security numbers, Medicare numbers, whatever that will be. So looking at we're under attack from Skynet, what does an incident look like? And here we're being attacked by Skynet, and it's usually through the identity or a device being compromised. Whether that be a mobile phone that has access to our corporate data, or a tablet, an iPad, or even just a laptop in an airport. It's being compromised, and then what we will usually see is corporate app or data accessed. So that's the illegal accessing of data. From there, we look into the next step, which is app or data is manipulated. So Tom today, he was a bad actor inside the organization, and he changed the bank details. So that's one form of internal human risk management, but also an area of compromise that a lot of these bad guys do when they get in there. And then after that, we get the exfiltration of data, which was the contact list that was exported from Dynamics. Now, I want to reassure you that Dynamics is a secure platform in the cloud. We're just doing some very extreme examples so that we've got a little bit of a narrative to tell you around security. So how do we protect ourselves using Microsoft tools? It's 4 stages. The first one being prevent. The second one being detect. Third, remediate. And fourth, protect. Too many X in there. It sounds like I said it twice, but it is prevent, detect, remediate, and protect. So just going to go on to who in the room loves passwords. No one does. I know I forget my password for some services and applications out there. So today we're going to look into passwordless. So in the prevent section, we're going to have a look at conditional access to restrict access to corporate devices, passwordless access. Is anyone currently doing passwordless logon for Windows environments? No? We'll have a quick look at that. And then shadow IT, blocking access to unwanted apps. So I'm going to quickly flick over and show you a hands-on demonstration. Sorry, working with a very small tablet here. So what we're going to have a look at is robotics division user, and it didn't want to share. Bear with me a second, sorry. So I have not had any luck with my demonstrations this week with projectors or screens at all. No worries. Come on, projector. Yay, we're winning, cooking gas. All right. Sorry about that. Okay, so we've got the environment for the robotics division. Alex Wilbur, he is going to demonstrate passwordless sign-in. So usually we traditionally put a password into our machine. What happens with passwordless sign-in is we can do it through many forms, but in this instance, he's got a PIN number. So I'm going to put that in there. And like I say, if I forget this, my wife will kill me because it's our wedding anniversary. Come on, you good thing. So what it's going to go do is going to validate the PIN number against the user, and we're automatically into the environment, which is perfect. From there, we can actually go in and see Alex is able to navigate and do a few things in the environment. So this is his corporate laptop. He's at work, and he's going to go have a look at the SharePoint. So is everyone using SharePoint in the room? Nobody's using SharePoint or file shares? So we've got SharePoint. And in here, we're able to see that Alex is able to access and see the corporate data. So we've all got sensitive data. We've all got information that is key to what we want to protect in our day today. Beauty of it running over the internet, like to run slow. Tom had a little bit of this example today with it is. Come on, good thing. There we go. So we're starting to see the site library. The internet's a bit slow here, but we're slowly seeing all the information in the environment. What we're going to do is we're going to jump across and we're going to have a look at Alex has now gone home. He's finished work for the day. He's gone, you know what? I want to do a little bit more work. So he's gone home. He's logged onto his laptop at home and he tries to connect to the network. What it's going to do is it's going to detect, hopefully, here we go, internet's loading. It's going to come up and say, time sensitive, I want to log in. So it's come up there, put 58 into the phone, go yes, face identification because it wants to see how pretty I am, and it should log him in. This is the beauty of where, try again, Face ID. Been having this problem this week, but try it again. There we go. So it's going to say, welcome to Microsoft 365. In this area in here, you can see that some of the documents he's been working on are listed. But if we go into the SharePoint, It'll prompt him again because of the environment that he's in. So what we're doing is we're securing by layers our corporate data and information. And here it is. To access this service, you need to log in with your work account from an authorized work device. It's detected that his laptop that he has at home is not part of his network. So going through those steps of authentication is actually going to say, well, are you the person that you are? And then further from that, we've checked the device is not an approved device. One of the other things we can look at based on this is we can look at things such as shadow IT. And if we go back to his work laptop, thank you Teams for logging me in. But if we go back to his work laptop, he may not like using Dynamics. He may not be a fan of it. He goes, look, this is not for me. I don't care what you as a company's done. I want to use HubSpot. So that's shadow IT, where people within the organisation want to use applications or spin up subscriptions. A lot of people don't like Teams, they prefer Slack, so they go get themselves a Slack account. So what we can do is through conditional access, is we can actually prevent shadow IT by having authorised applications. Right now it's preventing it at the Microsoft level for corporate devices. A lot of people I've had in the audience say, well, I can do this with my antivirus. Yeah, you can. Absolutely, but you're not seeing that, what we've mentioned, that single pane of glass. And when we talk about single pane of glass, we're talking about this one view to see everything, and that's the Microsoft platform. Just to demonstrate that, I am hopping back and forth a little bit, apologies, but we're going to have a look at an administrator level of it. We're going to have a look at what's called the Cloud App Catalog. Now this has all pretty much applications that are out there available that we can prevent and protect. So we're at a Dynamics, and we're going to talk about Dynamics CRM shortly. So what we're going to do is we're going to block Salesforce. You can easily go into the back end, look for an application such as Salesforce, and when the internet is pretty good, it will load fairly quickly. It'll come up with Salesforce. And what we can do is, I previously blocked it on a previous example. We could turn around and say, you know what, we're going to use both. And we can authorize pretty quickly by clicking the tick button when the internet's faster and authorize Salesforce. So this is as complex as it gets. Now Salesforce is approved, we'll give the usual refresh time and come through. Yep.
Is that by license P1 or P2?
I think it's on P1. I'll confirm that for you at the end of this and get back to you. Licensing, the SKUs off the top of my head, terrible at it, but I'll confirm it for you straight away after this. So that allows us to do it. The other things we can turn around and do is we can do other blockages, like as we saw at the start, if we just go back and do the general search, we can go through and block things such as the Xbox applications and stuff like that, and annoy a lot of the IT guys out in the back there. But that's some of the functions that we can do. This is the power of using security in the modern workplace. Jumping quickly back to my slides. So we've gone through and demonstrated that prevent area. Now we're going to have a look at detect. Now these ones here, I'm not going to go do the physical demo. I'll show you just on some slides. But we're going to talk about D365 finance operation modifying bank details. So we've done that. There is a lot of protections within Dynamics that does that automatically. We did use a case that is not technically real world because there's so many preventative measures in there. But what we've done is we're going to show that you can prevent it and what happens when these are altered by looking at Microsoft Sentinel. Now Microsoft Sentinel, if you want a good night's sleep, I can get somebody on the phone to talk to you about the in-depth side of it because it can put you to sleep pretty quickly. But we'll have a quick look at Sentinel overall. So we're just going to jump into a demo. So Sentinel really is this log analytics engine within Microsoft. It allows us to take all our information and data, including firewalls. So Palo Alto firewalls, if you've ever heard of them, they have a thing called Panorama, which is their pane of glass and see all the logs. We can actually bypass that and feed it straight into Azure Sentinel. It allows us to see all those analytics in one single pane of glass, and we'll have a quick look at that in a second. But the beauty of this is further is if I want to click the right button, Finance and Operations feeds directly into it. So we are pulling the logs directly from the applications that allow us to get those events. So when the bank details are altered and changed, it's ingested through the log analytics into Sentinel. So this is what Sentinel looks like. It's very nerdy, but allows us to see that there's incidents happening within our environment. So if you've got a security operations center or a cybersecurity people or your network and your IT guys, or you have a cybersecurity partner, they will be looking at this full time. Fusion5, a powered of ECS, we have a cybersecurity center, a secure operating center, and we do this for some customers. We 24/7 monitor log analytics for them. And what happens is that we get notification that there was an incident. And these are all the incidents in the environment, and we're going to take a look at the one where Tom's gone and altered the bank details. So we can see in here that this is a loud rule, which means it's overt, that will trigger each time a finance and operation is inserted, a table in finance operations inserted. From there, we can go in, get some really cool nerdy stuff at the top, but we can get into the granular what was altered in the table, what was changed, what was added, and it logs it within the logs. Now, what happens from there is then we can take those log alerts and do something really cool. So we also at Troy have the build your own low code stuff. I'm not going to expect you guys to understand the code here, but what we do is we build what's called a logic app. And a logic app is the same thing. We can build low code apps that allow us to send an alert to a Teams channel. So what we're demonstrating here is that when Microsoft Sentinel gets a type of alert that we want to know about, so bank details changed on an account, we can turn around and do one of two things. We can build a low code app that does this and says, hey, accounts manager in Teams, we've altered the bank details. So that person goes, okay, that sounds about right. Sometimes we'll get, that's a bit strange, that customer hasn't changed their bank account in 30 years. And we can get that push instantaneous from the logging to the people that we need it to, or your security team. What will happen is we build out all the code, and then this is what you'll see in Microsoft Teams in a channel. It just pops up, hey, we've had an alteration. And the beauty of completing the full circle of life is when we click view, we can go straight to the incident and see the details of the incident. So Sentinel is a log analytics engine that allows us to build some really cool applications to the side of it and alert people when there is alterations. So that application could be for your own, we could turn around and say if there's an event that changes, like we've got a mass in production, so we've got all of a sudden we've got double entry of a carton and you get F&O to alert that through logging. You can get Sentinel to act as your log analytics alert and alert you in Teams. Moving on to remediate, we're going to have a look at identity protection, enforcing password change for a risky user, and vulnerability management, so visibility across all our endpoints in our organization. So identity protection, forcing password change on a risky user. We'll have a quick look at that. So I've come from Perth, saw arms flying here, got here, and I've logged in. Now, last time I logged in was in Perth on Monday morning last week. I got here to Auckland on Tuesday morning, 6:30 a.m. Microsoft will go, well, wait a second, Travis was in Western Australia. He's now logged in Auckland 14 hours later. That's achievable. The logic says that he could have traveled, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to prompt him. We're all good. What happens if I log in at Perth at 5 a.m. on a Monday and at 5:05 I'm logged in at Auckland? The system's going to go, that sort of travel's not available in this day and age. We're not that scientifically advanced. I'm going to prompt him. And then because I deem that as a risky sign in, I'm going to ask him for his current password and a password change. So we still do have a password when we go passwordless, but we use it only in these instances of where we need to force the security a little bit more. Going to quickly jump back onto my laptop and show you just Microsoft Defender security and vulnerability. So what we have the ability to do through Microsoft 365 Defender is able to have a look at devices in our network. So this is mobile phones that are owned by the company, tablets.
Quick question.
Yep.
That login process, if I swap to another different network, why does it prompt me again with the security authentication?
Because it's not coming from an approved network. So say we've got a corporate network and it has an IP range, and that's what we've set the security up to be. When you leave that network and go to an alternative network, it will ask you, hey, this is not your normal login area. Can you please verify that it's you? It's identifying it as this is out of the norm because of the conditions set in the security.
And that's driven from the security, the company
Yeah, so you can set IP. So if you've got multiple sites, you can have all those ranges and all those locations geo-tagged and the IP address range. But as soon as you're out of that, it'll go, hey, that's risky. We want to re-authenticate. So quickly looking at the Defender for 365 here, we're going to really briefly touch on this because it's quite dry and I want to get to the more interesting part. Is that we've got here is this looks at all the devices. So phones, tablets, scanners, laptops, PCs, anything that has an IP and is controlled. And it can identify within your organization that there's an issue. A CVE is a vulnerability report that goes out. And we can see here that by having a look at it, there's 2 devices within our test organization that have a vulnerability. That's great. We know that we've got a vulnerability, but what we can do is we can go into a little bit more depth and see what the vulnerability is. And they are out of date for Chrome. And we all love using Chrome at the moment, don't we? But what we can see is we can see the vulnerabilities there. And the beauty of that as well is if you go from the reverse angle of looking at the Chromium based, we can still see which devices need Chrome updated in. So what we're seeing is that single pane of glass. We're stacking the security onwards. I've worked in the production environment for many years where we had end terminals in the production line where they are out of patch, they're out of date. You can't shut down the production line as easily. So how can we mitigate that? How can we report to our organization the potential risk that we have? And that's how we do it, is we can turn around and say all the machines on the production floor are not up to date because we can't shut them down for an update until Sunday. So we can risk mitigate around that, but we can identify what patches and updates are required. Yep. Yes. To Android devices is in tablets, scanners, and mobiles, yes. Yeah, the Windows CE's, the compact edition is gone. Yes, so the beauty of it is that with all the Dynamics application, you can use it through the Android store and virtualize it. But when we enroll the device through Intune, it will report those vulnerabilities based on those devices. Okay, quickly jumping back into the slides. I know it's been quite dry to here. We've been talking security. The one section I want to go into really now is the protect. It's the final stage, and I think this is probably going to be the more interesting one. Try to compete with Troy's AI demonstrations. It's hard. You go in after AI, it's very hard to compete of interest. But we're going to have a look at purview and the visibility of potential sensitive documents, sensitivity labels and how to encrypt them, and email encryption. And what we're talking about here is that information that's in SharePoint or people's OneDrives or emails. So all of us in the room potentially have commercial or corporate information in confidence, IP, things that we've generated. We don't want to lose that information to people. So we talked about human risk management. We're going to talk about that. Alex is now, he's disgruntled with Fusion5 robotics division, and he's going to leave. He's going to competitor to build Cylons or something now. And the problem is that he wants to egress some of that information. So we're going to have a real quick look at Microsoft Purview and then the information loss prevention. Sorry, very hands-on swapping back and forth. So the first thing we're going to have a look at is Microsoft Purview. And the beauty of this, we're going to talk about something that's relevant here, is New Zealand Social Welfare Number. So the New Zealand Social Welfare Number is a personal identifiable information that needs to be protected and has data sovereignty rules around it. So we might have a company policy saying that any information with people's personal information is only ever allowed to be stored in the SharePoint repository. What we can easily do is we can see that there's 92 instances of this within our organization. It's scanned all our data and said, hey, we have found positively within reason 60% of the time, every time, New Zealand Social Welfare Number. And then it goes off and says, well, 69 of those are in Exchange, 19 are in OneDrive, and only 4 instances are in SharePoint. This is a really quick way of us finding the information that's protected within our organization based on some standard labeling that's out there. So we're able to then identify, well, we're actually not complying. We're not putting everything in SharePoint. We've got it inside people's emails and OneDrives. So let's go and clean that up. Now, if I went and clicked on these and we started drilling into it, the computer will break down, the internet will break, and it'll keep going. But you can get really granular to find out where and whose emails those are stored in. So for the final part, I want to talk about labeling, and it's a demonstration around that, is that we're going to open up Alex's email. Now I'll have to fake this demo a little bit because the internet is a little bit slow. But what happened is Tom today exported the contact list, the customer list. We all saw him do it and I arrested him. We've had the running joke for the last few of that, you know, thanks for this. It's not usually me doing the arresting, it's the other guys that go, thanks guys, you know, we hired them from the Samsung store. We like to call them the Guardians of the Galaxies and stuff like that because Galaxy phones and that. But Mark was one of them, and he emailed it to Mark, and Mark has gone and said, okay, Alex, I've exfiltrated this customer list for you. Here you go. I know you're leaving. So we've got a document here, and we're going to open it. So we're going to open the Excel. Okay, so the first thing, the usual, everyone loves this, enable editing. You've got the file. And what it's going to tell us up here is you need to add a sensitivity label. And a sensitivity label is that we have a policy within our organization that every document created needs to be labeled with a sensitivity label. That could be as general or as highly classified, it's customized. So you could say commercial in confidence, finance in confidence, staff in confidence, highly protective, sneaky business, don't tell nobody, that kind of stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to label this with highly classified Fusion5 robotics. We're going to apply the label. We've now met the alarm in generating the document. Then we're going to save, browse, and he's going to throw it on his desktop once it all loads. We've already got a copy there, but I'll save over it. Done. So that's now labeled. But to demonstrate that we can do this from scratch, we're going to load Microsoft Word. I'm doing the whole craning my neck and I've got it on my screen here, so that's been real good. So we're going to go in here, got it, and we're going to say super confidential stuff. And in here, we need to select a label. We're going to save that. And the power of the demonstration gods, it should work once it saves over the internet. It will watermark our documents. So if we want to apply watermarking to our documents, so we could say commercial in confidence, this is my secret recipe for KFC salt. There it is branded. So that if it does egress, or somehow, it will print with that on it, the watermarking, which is super cool. We've all had to look in the past. I'm sure everyone in the room in the past had to Google how to watermark a document. I've been there, down that road 1,000 times. So what happens now is that Alex has gone and got this, and he wants to send me, his new employer at Cylon Technologies, the email. So he's going to email me. We're going to attach that document from the desktop as a copy. But the one thing that he's being smart about is he's trying to protect his interests here. He's going to basically say, Travis, I don't want you to be able to forward this email. So up here in encrypted, we can set a flag saying, I'm not allowed to forward this. When it comes to me, external of the organization, it's saying you cannot forward this, you can't share this, this is for your eyes only. Now, I'm not going to send that because, as I said, the demo gods are against me, but this is one I've prepared earlier. So Fusion5 Roadshow. So he sent me some Cylon Centurion series plans. When I try to forward this, if it wants to load, oh, Microsoft, not today. We knew it was going to happen, didn't we, team? There we go. You cannot perform this action, permission is restricted on this message. Okay? To further demonstrate this, we've got the highly confidential, do not forward. Try to forward it. You cannot perform this action, permission is, this image is restricted. Cool. I'm going to screenshot it because I'm sneaky. Oh, my screen's been blanked out. I can't screenshot it. It's preventing me from being able to capture that information. Okay, I'm going to call someone else and do a Teams call so they can screenshot it. From there, black screen. That's the beauty of this technology, is it blanks it out. And then further to that, I'm not part of the Fusion5 robotics division. I'm going to try and access it, and it's going to say, sorry, you can't access this file, you're not part of the organization. So the same thing happens when Alex leaves the company. He takes his USB, he leaves, he's downloaded everything. As soon as IT shut off his account, congratulations, you have a USB full of nothing. So that's the